Hello, welcome to the video training tutorial for the Student Companion 1. When you purchase the Student Companion 1, you will receive a delivery email within 1 to 12 hours of purchase. To expedite the process, please make sure that when you purchase the Student Companion, you include the first name of the user. In the delivery email, you will notice that there is a link to this very same tutorial. Not only that, but there's some useful information like the name of the person who's licensed to use the Student Companion, the link to download the actual file, expiration date of that link, which is usually 2 weeks after delivery, the code that you would need to activate the database, and just how long the code will be valid for. Also included in the delivery email is a copy of the user training manual in PDF format. I suggest that you actually read through the training manual and watch this video before you start using the Student Companion 1. So let's get started with downloading the file, which is the first step. I would suggest using Internet Explorer when downloading the Student Companion only because it makes it more straightforward when downloading it in terms of selecting what folder you want to download the file in. You could use another browser like Chrome or Firefox, but I think by default they save it to your download folder. You don't really have an option of which folder you want to save it on. So let's begin. You simply click on the link that says Dropbox link download. It's going to prompt you to log in, but you don't have to log in. Simply scroll to the very bottom and click where it says no thanks, continue to view. And then to the very right where you see the download button, click on the down arrow. And the option that appears, select direct download. It may prompt you again to log in. Again, just simply scroll down and select no thanks, continue to download. And once you're using Internet Explorer, you'll have this prompt that asks you where exactly you want to save the file. So click on the down arrow for save so that you could select save as. And then now you could select what folder you want to save the database in, and by default I'm simply gonna select the desktop, and you just click save. So it has finished downloading. Now you could go ahead and click open, or if you're not ready to open it as yet, you could simply close out Internet Explorer, and then you will notice that the file is on your desktop. Before we go to opening the file, I just want to refer to the training manual. This is what it looks like, and let's navigate to page 3. So what is the Student Companion 1? The Student Companion 1 is a Microsoft Access Database school tool that will serve as a dynamic and interactive repository of a student's academic career from elementary, primary school, straight through to high secondary school. It features robust study and assessment tools, college prep capabilities, and will give students a head start in being prepared for the workforce from an early age. Although the database allows for academic history from as far back as grade K, the database is very flexible, and so it's flexible enough to begin from whatever grade or year a student is currently at. Not only that, but it also caters for 3 major educational systems to include the US/Canada, the British West Indies, and the United Kingdom. The database will automatically expand to fit a student's space requirements up to 2 gigabytes. So what do you need to use the Student Companion? As mentioned before, it's a Microsoft Access database, so you need Microsoft Access. What is Microsoft Access? Well, it's one of the applications of Microsoft Office. Most people tend to be more familiar with Microsoft Word, Microsoft PowerPoint, Microsoft Excel, and even Outlook, which are also part of the Office suite. But one of those applications is also Microsoft Access, which is represented by a red icon with an A. For any reason, if you don't have Access installed on your computer, You could purchase and download it from online at Amazon. You could type in Microsoft Access 2013. If you have Microsoft Access 2007 or 2010, those will also work. But obviously, Microsoft Access 2013 to date is the most recent version, and so is the version recommended. But again, like I said, if you have Microsoft 2007, 2010, and 2013, those will work too. And like I also said, Microsoft Access is part of the Microsoft Office suite. So without further ado, let's begin. So what you would want to do is double click on the database icon, and here you'll have a personal greeting. Now the next step is very, very, very important. Once you open it for the first time, you will see a yellow notification to the very top telling you that some of the contents were disabled. Now you will have to enable it to ensure that the database functions as it was created to. So to do that, the first thing you do is to close the welcome message. So what you would do is simply click on enable content, and that's it. So once you do that, the yellow box will close and you will see the hello message again. Click next. And you would type in the first name of the user, and again this would be the name that's listed in the email as to who the database is licensed to. It is the user that you would have entered during purchase. So you enter the first name, the last name, and the auth code, which is given to you in the email that is sent, the delivery email. Simply click next, and you select a username of any kind that you may want, and you enter the password and re-enter it again. Now, if for any reason you lost the password, you simply need the auth code to be able to reset your password. So click next, and then you would select your school system. For this example, I'm going to select the US system, which goes from grade K to 12th grade. And what's so good about this database is that it's flexible enough to cater to multiple school systems. So for example, if you started out in the British system and now you're in the American system, that is completely fine. Just select whatever system you're in now, and you will see that you have the flexibility of selecting whatever options are unique to a specific school system. So let's select US grade K to 12 and click done. Once you do that, you'll be taken to the home page, which welcomes you, and it has the various access points, the various access buttons. Basically, the home page is like your dashboard. There's a notes area to the left that you could type in whatever notes that you want to for yourself, whether it's a motivational note like I just did here or a reminder of some sort. So let's get started with the first module of the Student Companion, which is what you should start with also to help you further customize the Student Companion. So the first module is the academic folder. You would click on it. You will notice once you get into the academic folder that your first name and your last name is already filled in for you. You simply have to fill in the other information. I would strongly suggest that you at least fill out the address information and the telephone and email address, because when you get to the resume and the CV, this is the area that it draws your contact information from. So let me enter my address for this example. To navigate to another field, simply click the tab button on your keyboard. It makes it go a lot faster instead of using your mouse, but of course it's your preference. So for example, you make a mistake and you want to go back up, you could hold on Shift and press tab on your keyboard, and Shift tab takes you back up. So to go backwards, you hold on Shift and you press tab, and to go forward, to jump from field to field, you would just simply press tab. So now let's enter the phone number and the email address and the website. If you don't have a website, that's fine. Simply leave it blank. So I've completed the contact information. It's very important so that your CV / curriculum vitae has your contact information to the very top. So to the very top of the academic folder, you will notice 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 tabs. So the first one, the default one, is the contact tab. The second one is the schools tab, where you log your formal education. I've already logged some. But just to demonstrate how you would log a new school, you would simply click on the schools tab and you would click on add new school, and then you will begin to type the school information. So the school name, the educational level for this example would be high school, but of course you have elementary school, middle school, high school, primary school, secondary school, sixth form. So whichever one applies to that current school, you would select. If you don't see an appropriate option here, you could click the edit list icon, and then you would type in the option and you would click OK. So for this, let me say college, and then I will click OK, and then I will notice college is now a part of the drop down. So whenever you see an edit list items icon, it means you could add to that drop down list. So for this example, I'm going to select high school. You would enter the date started. If you don't remember the exact date, just pick a date that's closest. You have the option of using the date selector, or you could type in the date. Just remember that the date format is day dash month, like the first 3. So I'll type it. So in this example, for the day, I'll use the 14th dash, the first 3 letters of the month, August, dash, and the 2-digit year. So that stands for August 14th, 2013. And of course, here's a reminder of the format to enter the date in. Currently attending, it so happens I'm currently attending the school. If I wasn't, I would leave that blank. It asks, is this an honors or advanced program that you're enrolled in? I'm going to click yes. If not, you leave that blank. Select your current grade, and I'm in 11th grade. For this example, of course. If you're finished with the school, simply select your most recent grade that you were in before exiting the school. Your grade average. One thing to note is that whenever you see this little icon here, stands for information, just place your mouse cursor over it and it will give you some useful tips. So based on this, is saying, okay, depending on your school, maybe you'll have a letter grade, maybe you'll have a percentage grade, or maybe you'll have a decimal grade. For this example, I'm going to use a decimal grade and enter 4.0. But again, you could enter an A+ or 95% or 92%. It all depends on your school. And let's navigate back. Over here's the navigation. This is to find, delete, and to browse. So let's go back so I could illustrate what it is that I'm talking about. So for this specific school, the grade system was a percentage. So I said 95%. And here you would see, although I've exited the school, I've selected the most recent grade, grade 6. Note if I take this out, and I try to navigate, it will tell me enter your grade or year example grade 4. If you no longer attend this institution, select the grade or year of your exit. So let me put in grade 6. You could type it in or select it from the drop down. This specific school I exited, and I would enter the exit date in the day, month, year format. If you don't remember the exact date, that's fine. Just select a random date. The most important part of this is the year anyway. For this specific school, I graduated. Now, bear in mind, there may be some schools that you left that you didn't graduate from, as seen in this next example, where I only attended the school for a year before I moved to another school. So in this example, I didn't graduate, so I will leave that blank. If you had any honors when leaving that school, you select it, whether you were the valedictorian, the salutatorian, if you graduated with honors, or if you were the student of the year. Notice it has graduated with honors here twice, because in this will actually make up part of a report. So depending if you're in the British, you will select the second one with the honors that's spelled with a U. So let's go back to my current school, and actually let me demonstrate how you would search for something. So I'd like to go back to the record I was working on. So I will click Find, ensure that it says match any part of the field, and the school that I entered said St. Croix Educational Complex. I'll just say complex and I'll go to Find next, and it brings it up for me. So that way I don't have to navigate through each one. So here's the record. And so since I'm currently attending the school, at this moment, I don't need any exit information until, of course, I'm ready to exit the school. I would search for this record and complete the exit information. One thing I want to note, though, is that if you enter a completion date, it will automatically set you're currently attending to, it will uncheck it to say you're not attending that school anymore. The next part is, so I've updated the contact information, the schools. The next part is the training. I've already gone through and entered some training information here, but let's enter a new one. So what happens is that once you enter a record, it's automatically going to add a new record. So I'm going to add a new training. So you would simply click on Add New Training. So for example, say you've had training outside of school, like maybe attended a seminar, a workshop, or something of that sort. It's not necessarily a school, maybe even a summer class. You would come to the training tab. So any training that you receive outside of your school, you will log in on the training tab. So in this example, I decided to go to WillTech for just about maybe 6 months. So I took Introduction to Microsoft Office 2007 tab on your keyboard to go to the next field. The institution is WillTech. The certification that I receive is Certificate of Excellence. If there's no certification, you would just leave it blank. For the date, I went from the 30th of January 2009 to the 14th of July. Now, what you could do is that if you begin the training, you don't have to wait till you've completed it to fill it in. You could just come here, enter the course title, the institution, and the date beginning. And then once you complete it, you could always come back, enter the end date and whatever certification you receive. So you don't have to wait till you've completed it to enter this information. Now let's go to the report cards. And just to expedite the process, what I did was that I already inputted a report card for demonstration purposes, and then I'll go through the process of starting a report card. So for a report card, it has the student year. You would select the school and what grade, and you would note that it has 3 tabs. Let's go back up, I'm sorry. You will notice it has 3 tabs: semester 1 or term 1, semester 2 or term 2, semester 3. It's just to add some flexibilities. Most of the schools are divided into 3 terms, and so you have 3 separate report cards. If you only have 2, that's fine. You could just fill out term 1 and term 2. If you only have, for whatever reason, which I doubt, only 1 term, or if you started a school late. So maybe, for example, you started a school in term 2 or term 3, you have the flexibility of inputting from whatever term you started. But in this example, I'm assuming that the assumption is made that the student started from term 1. So here we have the subject, the score, the teacher's name, and the teacher's remarks. You would scroll down. Here you would have the overall grade and the teacher's overall review. Usually this is the final review that's included on your report card from, say, the form master or the homeroom teacher. If for your specific school that doesn't exist, you simply leave it blank. Also, to the very bottom is the assessment area where it asks you, okay, are you pleased with your performance? What went well? What didn't? What went wrong? And how do you plan to improve for the next semester? So, and then of course, second one, same thing. This is for term 2 and the relevant information for term 2, same thing. And then to the bottom, your assessment. But let's go through an example of creating a report card from scratch. So you've come to the end of a period and you have a report card. And let's pretend it's a brand new school year. If it wasn't a brand new school year and you already entered the first term or the second term for that specific school year, you would just search for that report card and update it. But in this next example, we're going to assume it's a completely new school year. So let's go to add new school year. Now you want to enter the school year, which in my example, I'm going to enter 2016. Now here's a little trick. Say for example, you press tab and you come to the school and you click and you notice that your school is not listed here. Basically what's happening is that this field is pulling from the schools tab. So if the school you're looking for is not here, it simply means you haven't added the information for the school in the schools tab. So what you would do is that whenever you want to clear, say you start a record and you want to clear it, just press escape on your keyboard and it's going to clear it out, because it won't let you navigate to another tab if you haven't finished inputting all of the required fields. So you would just press escape and you would go to the schools tab, you would enter the school information, you would close the academic folder, you would reopen it, you would come to the report cards tab, and then the school information will be listed there. So let's begin to complete this. So let's begin to complete this. School year 2016, and I'm tabbing to make it easy. If I click on the down arrow, I'm going to select St. Croix Educational Complex High School. Grade or year, let's select 11th grade. So what I would do is that I'll begin typing English 11. And what you're doing is just typing from your report card what comments your teacher made. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to pause this video and I'm going to complete the remaining fields. Okay, welcome back. So I included the information for 4 classes alongside their grade, the teacher, and the teacher's comments. So the next step is that I would scroll down and enter the overall grade, which in this example is an A, and then I would proceed to typing the teacher's overall comments. The next is the assessment area underneath. Are you pleased with your performance? In this example, yes, I'm pleased with my performance. What went well? Where did I go wrong? And my plan for improvement for the upcoming semester. So I'm done. I've completed all of the information for this report card. I have my subjects and the grades that I received, my teacher's name and my teacher's comments, my overall grade and overall review, and then I completed my assessment. So we're going to fast forward into next term. You've completed next term, you will click on semester/term 2. Now you have the option of, say for example, you switch schools. You could come here and type in your new subjects, your scores, and your teachers. But say for example, you're in the same school and this is the second term for the same classes. You could simply click copy term 1, and what it does is that it copies the say for whatever reason that once you copied it, there was an additional class added, you could always type it in. So what the copy term 1 does is that it saves you time. It lets you copy subjects and teacher's name from term 1, but that does not stop you from editing it or adding new subjects. And again, you don't have to use this. And a good example of when you wouldn't use it is, say you search schools and now you want to enter the information for that new school, which happens to be different subjects. And that'll be it. So now let's check out the report for this one. So for the report card, it has 2 reports. And when I say reports, I mean booklets. It has one here. Whenever you see a printer, it means that you could print preview a booklet for this specific record. So if I just wanted to see the report card for 2011 school year, I would click this button. If I wanted to see a complete history of all of my report cards, I would click the performance history button. So let's do both of them. In this example, I just want to see the report card for 2011. I would come to the report cards tab, make sure I search for the year that I want. And again, you could search by using the navigation buttons or the find button. And so in this example, I want to see the report card for 2011. So I would click on the print this report card icon. And here's an example of what your report card would look like. So you have your report card, lets you know what school, what grade, and there you have the semester 1, semester 2. You could navigate and it comes over to semester 3. At the very end, it has your personal assessment with each semester side by side so that you could always return and compare how well you did and throughout the semesters. So what is the relevance of this report? One, it's always going to be here. So 10 years from now, maybe you want to go back for whatever reason. You applied for a job and you need to go back and pull all of your report cards. You could do just what we did. You would navigate to the report card, select the grade, and you would run the report. Or maybe you have a physical binder. So you go to that year, you run the report, and then you could always print it using this button. Or if you want to export it to PDF, you would use this button. So in that example, we looked at viewing the report card for this year alone. Say now I want a complete history, like a booklet of all of my report cards. I would click on the performance history button. And just once you see it spinning, it means it's doing its thing. Just be patient. And here you have it, the report card. And this is for St. Croix Educational Complex, 11th grade. And then if you navigate through it, it goes through. See, this is the one I actually just did. So here's that one. And if you continue, you would notice, look, here's another report card. So it puts all of them together. You could just print a complete history of all of your report cards. And as you notice, you don't have to be completely finished with a report year to generate it. So in the example that I did earlier, I included all of the information for semester 1, but I didn't include all of the information for semester 2, and there's no semester 3 as yet. So the report will adjust for you. So that's report cards. Let's close that out and let's go to the next tab, which is the awards tab. So whenever you receive an award, you would come to this area to log that information. It's pretty straightforward. You would enter the date, the name of the award, who awarded it, and the details of the award. If you want to add a new one, you would click the add award. But the next one is clubs and associations. So right here, you would enter whatever clubs or organizations you're associated with. And just to quickly show you an example, from May 5th, 2015, I was a member of the Golden Key Honor Society. And to include a description, I would say something like, It's the Honor Society of the St. Croix Educational Complex. Actually, let me say it's the National Honor Society of St. Croix. I'm still a member, so I'm not going to enter any exit date. If you try to move out, it would say, okay, please enter a position. If you don't have any defined position, say for example, treasurer, secretary, president, you just type in member. Okay, so we have that. So for work experience, again, I did an example for you. So in this case, you would see it's divided into several sections: the job appointment, the job description, your duties, whatever skills and new software, whatever skills you've gained and whatever new software you've used, and any accomplishments you've had. So pretty straightforward. But let's do a working example. So to add a new work experience, I will click Add New Work Experience, and I will go ahead and now the next step for industry category, it has a lot of options to select from. Just select the most appropriate one. Note, if you try to select a subcategory before you select a category, it's going to tell you select a category first, because depending on your selection of a category, it will filter the subcategory. So in this specific situation, I'm going to select that is education. Speedy Secretarial Institute is in the education industry. And then under education, it has some subcategories. And here I will select that is a technical or trade school. If for whatever reason the industry is not listed here, you could always select other. If you have exited this organization, you would enter an exit date. I'm still working here, so I would select currently employed. If it's a volunteer experience, you would select volunteer. If you're working full-time, you would select full-time. If you don't select full-time, it's just going to assume that you're working part-time. So I'm going to select full-time. And then you will proceed to enter in the job description. And usually this would come from the job advertisement. Okay, welcome back. So I've included the job description. The next is to select how many hours. Note that once you select full-time, it's going to help you out and put in 40 hours, but you could always change it to whatever hours you want. I'm going to leave it at 40. It asks for your hourly pay rate. So even if you work for an annual salary, just calculate how much it would be per week by dividing your annual salary by 52 weeks, and you would input it here. So for this example, I'm going to put that I work for $18 an hour. You would enter your duties. Note that it wants you to enter it in order. So if I try to click on 3 to enter in 3 first, it's going to take me back to 1. It's not going to let me select 3 or 4 or 5 until I've completed 1. So let's include some of my duties. Okay, so usually you would press tab to go to a next field, but I only have 3 key duties. So what you would have to do is scroll down and actually click in the next field, because if you tab to 4, it'll let you tab to 4, but because there's nothing in 5, it's going to keep taking you back to 4. So you want to click in this situation to go to the next section. So for skills gained and new software, so here it has a listing of a lot of them. So in this situation, some of the skills that I've gained: coaching, and notice new skills. So if you go to a new job and you coach, but that's not a new skill, you wouldn't include coaching. And you don't have to worry to go and check to see, okay, did I include coaching before? Don't worry about it. The database will know that you inputted it twice and it would only show coaching once in your booklet. So don't worry about it. So for this example, I gain coaching skills, I gain counseling skills, and I gained I'm looking for people management skills. Scroll down to the next section, new software use. I'll say for this example, Microsoft project. Again, if there's none, you just leave it blank. For accomplishments, It's always good to try and include an accomplishment, even if you don't think it's anything major. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to include an accomplishment. So our job, this completes our work experience. So again, similar to the report card section, you could scroll through, you could delete, you could search. But what I want to look at again is this printer icon. Wherever you see the printer icon, it means you could generate a report for this specific record. So if you want to view the work experience in a printer-friendly format for just this specific work experience, you will click this icon. If you want to generate a booklet with all of your work experiences, you will click on work history. So we're going to do both. So let's just look at the work experience, a printer-friendly version of a work experience, this specific customer service representative work experience. So I'll click on this button and it generates it for me. So here you see customer service rep, and it includes all of the information you listed in terms of what industry it's in, how much you were making, the job description, your duties, and accomplishments. Now let's pretend that we would like to see all your work history, all of your jobs. You will click on work history. Here again, we see the customer service. It's going to do it in alphabetical order. And if you click the next button, here's the one for the computer applications one. So let's close that out. The next one would be the references. And so it's pretty straightforward. You would include as much information as you need about a reference. So I have one here for you already. But what I want you to note is that by default, it sets a reference to be included on your resume or CV. If you don't want a specific reference that you have listed to show up in a resume that you're going to run, you simply uncheck this button, this checkbox. But I'm going to leave it for now. So let's go through an example of entering the information for a reference. Name. Let's select a relationship, and this is what the person's relationship is to you. So in this example, he's my supervisor. For contact type, you have two options, email or phone. So I'm going to select email, and see, it'll let you know, okay, enter the email, and I'll enter the email here. And then for the next option, I'm going to select phone and enter his phone here. If you only have an email or you only have a phone number, that's fine. Just enter what you do have. And here completes the resume, the references part of it. So the next part is that you have a monthly journal. So once a month, or if you want to do it more times than once a month, that's fine. But I would suggest at least once a month. At the beginning of the month, you would come to add a monthly journal. At the beginning of every month, there'll be a reminder on the home page in this white area to let you know, okay, remember to update your journal. So it asks you, what are your goals for this month? So let me type in my goal. Okay, welcome back. So after you've typed in your goal, it asks you, okay, under the analysis and reflection, it asks you to select a question below and answer it in the box that follows. For this example, okay, so there are different questions. What are your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats? Where do you want to go to college and why? What industry would you like to enter? What are some companies you would like to work at and why? What are 3 job areas of interest? What colleges, what would you like to study in colleges, and how can you improve your grades? So every month you would just select a question, whichever one. For this month, I want to select a question that asks me what 3 job areas interest me most. And you will find over time the answers to these questions may change. So imagine a year, 2 years from now, you could always review and see where your mind was at, how it shifted, what caused it to shift, and so on. So I'm gonna include my answer to that question. Okay, so welcome back. And so for this month, I've included my goal for this month, and I've reflected. For next month, I would click add new journal entry. I could browse between journal entries. So now let's take a look at the reports for this section, which is located to the right. So far we've looked at performance history and we've looked at work history. So now let's look at the resume or CV builder. So let's click on the resume/CV builder link. Once you do that, the resume launcher would come up, and what this does, it allows you to have custom introductions. So on the label, you have the option of selecting objectives, personal statement, and summary. This is going to be the label of the introduction on your resume. You could always add a new label if one is not there that you're satisfied with by clicking the Edit List Items button. But for this example, I'm going to select objectives and I'm going to type in what my objective is. Okay, I'm back. So I've typed in my introduction and the label I want for it is objectives. The good thing about this is that it's going to store as many introductions as you like. So as you launch a resume, as you know, or as you should know, depending on what job you're applying for, you would want a custom introduction. So maybe for the next job, maybe I'm applying for a teaching position. I wouldn't want to use that objective. I would want to type in an objective as it relates to teaching here. But what happens is that it's going to store all of them, and maybe you come across another data analyst job, you could always come back and select this. So once you're here, you would type in a new objective. If one is already here that you want to use, there's no need to type in the objective. You would simply select it, whatever objective you want, and you would click on Launch Resume. And it's going to do its thing, and then it's going to launch your resume. Looks familiar? So yes, what you would note is that, and I spelled analysis wrong, so let's fix that. Okay, so CV analysis. Okay, let's launch a resume again. See, it asked me to select an introduction. You have to check which one you want, and let's launch the resume or CV, as some persons call it. So what it does, it pulls all of the information. So where you will see the power of this is that as time goes by and you have different experiences, you go to different schools, you have different training, you would want to add it as you go. Not add everything at once. You just add it as you go. And then whenever you need your resume, whether it's to apply for a job, or apply for a scholarship, or to work on a portfolio or something, you would just run it. And here has objective, your education, the training you've received, your work history, and of course your work history looks at your job, what company, what industry it was, some of your duties. Your training looks at the name of the training, of course, the period you were there, what company it was, whatever certificate that you got. And your school looks at, the education looks at your schools, what was your grade, if your overall grade or your most recent grade, if you still attended or if you graduated. So let's click next and look at the other page. Here continues, it looks at some of your skills. So notice it pulls all of the skills that you've gained over the years here and on the skills and software. So like for example, if you entered coaching twice, you don't have to worry, it's only going to represent it once. It puts your skills and your software here. For clubs and associations, it would put the name of the club, the name of the organization, whether you're a member, president, whatnot. For awards, here you would see it puts the name of the award, the awarder, and a description of the award, and your references. The name of your reference, what job they hold, your relationship to the reference, and how long you've known that person. It calculates it for you. So all you would have to do at this point, voila, is press print, or you export it to PDF. Cool, isn't it? So let's look at, so we've looked at the resume, we've looked at the performance history, we've looked at the work history. Let's look at the training history. What the training history report does is that it pulls your formal education, meaning all of your schools, and it shows your most recent status. And it also pulls your training history. those courses or workshops that you attended. So if for whatever reason you just needed a sheet of paper, a booklet, because obviously as time goes by, this would be more than one sheet of paper, you could print that out. The next report that you have for the academic folder section is, of course, your journal. And what it will do is that it would show the month and the answers to the questions. If there was more than one entries for this specific month, it would put it underneath, and as the months go on, it will add it to this report, so you have like a journal. In this example, we only have one journal entry, so it only shows one, but this is going to be a booklet of all your journal entries over time. So that takes care of the academic folders module. Now let's take a look at my classes. So with the My Classes area, what this area lets you do is basically add your class notes. So I've already gone ahead and I've added some information already. So I've added a Business 101 class for Munset Secondary School, and I was in first form, and here are my notes. For this specific class, I have a topic, organizational culture, and I enter the notes, and I have another notes, and this specific topic for Business 101 is people management, and I have the notes. So now let's go ahead with showing a working example. So let's add another class, a whole another class. You would go to add new class, and this specific class is called Introduction to Microsoft Access, the school, and again it pulls the school from your school's tab, but with this also you're allowed to type in a school name. So for example, if you want to track notes for maybe a summer class or a training session, you could do that, and you would just enter the name of the organization or the person putting on the training by typing it in here. But for your formal education, for your schools, you would select the school name. And so here I'm going to select Munset Secondary School, and I was in first form. And here I'm currently attending, so I will leave that. But once, I've passed or failed or I'm repeating, I would come and update this. My teacher, enter her name, and here it requires you to include at least one textbook or one reference material. So for this one, I would put a textbook called Microsoft Access for Dummies by V. John, and you could put up to 5 textbooks and or reference materials. So here now is where I want to add my notes. So in this example, I'm going to pretend I had a class and the topic was MS Access Forms. And so I would type in the topic and proceed to type in the notes. So I've completed typing in the notes for this specific topic for this class. If there's another topic, say another day I go to class, we have another topic, I would go to add topic, and here I would, let's pretend that the topic for this new class is create MS Access report. And again, I will type the class notes. So now let's look at some of the reports. There are 2 reports. Remember, we said that whenever you see a printer icon, it speaks to showing a printer-friendly version of the current record you're on. So let's click on this, and here are the class notes for Business 101. So it starts off people management and it continues organizational culture. So here you have a nifty report. It's going to show your textbooks that you're using. You could always print it, you could always export it to PDF. So the part of this is that you have all of your notes in a really clear, succinct fashion that would help you with studying. In addition to printing a user-friendly version of the current screen of the current class, you could also print a booklet with all of the classes for a specific grade. So to do that, you would click on the View Notes for grade year. This isn't associated with any specific record, so it doesn't matter what record you're on. You would click on that, and it's going to ask you to select a grade or year. It will only show those grades that you've logged notes for. So if you don't see a grade here, it's because you didn't log any notes for that grade. So I would select first form and I would click launch. And what it does, it brings up the class notes for all of the classes for first form. And it puts them in alphabetical order. So here we have Business 101. But if I press next, here comes Introduction to Microsoft Access. So you have all of your class notes for all of your classes for a specific grade. And what you could do is by the time it comes to the end of the term, here you come, you print, and you have a nifty way of just going through all of your notes. So that's the classes, my classes module. The next module is the contacts. And I've already inputted some examples. Here you would select what the contact type is, and you would enter as much information as you can about your contact. So let's add an example. I will go to add new, and in this example I'm gonna add a classmate, and my classmate's name is Sandel Howe. She doesn't have a title or an organization. I would leave that. Her telephone number, cell phone number, and I happen to have her email address. And you could put whatever comments you want. If the person has a website, you could also add the website information. Now, to view a directory of all of your contacts, you would go to View All Contacts. And here what it does is that it creates a printer friendly version of all of your contacts, and it groups it by contact type. So here it'll list all of your classmates, and then it'll list all of your teachers, and then it will put the other category. It goes in alphabetical order. So that's your contact directory. The next module is the word bank. And so what you would do is that over the years, as you come across new terms, whether in your textbooks or words that you may come across every day, you would add it to your word bank. And not only for words or terms you've come across, if you look at page 25 of the training manual, it gives you some examples. So the first example is a subject matter where you would include a term, like for example an acronym and what the acronym stands for. Another example of something that you could enter is a foreign language. So say you take Spanish, you create a subject matter that says Spanish, Spanish to English, and then Spanish, English to Spanish. In the Spanish to English, you would enter the Spanish version as the word, and then you would enter the English version as the meaning. And of course, for Spanish, English to Spanish, the English version would be the word, and the Spanish version would be the answer. Another usage of the word bank is for preparing for assessment tests. So, for example, the SAT, for subject matter, you could say SAT prep verbal and include some of the words that are known to be on the verbal section of the SAT and what they mean. Another use of the word bank could even be for mathematical problems. Say algebra, you would put the equation, and you would put the answer. And then another use is, in addition to having an acronym and what the acronym stands for, you could also have a word and the meaning of that word or term. So, you could get creative and just use this very simple tool that's very powerful. And I've already added some examples for you, but let's add a new subject so that you could see how it works. A new word for a new subject. So you would click add new word or term, and you would select the grade. So I'm in first form. Now, always look in the drop-down list to select the subject, because this is very critical for the system to group related words for the same subject. So you want to make sure you select it as opposed to typing it in. And here, as mentioned, whenever you see this little icon, it gives you tips if you hover over it. And basically what this tip is saying is to always select. Don't try to type it in, always select from the drop down list. No, it's going to show it in alphabetical order. If when you check the drop down list is not there, then you will type it in. And you would only need to type it in once. So since I'm going to be adding a term for biology and biology is not here, I would type in the word biology and then I would click add to list, so that it adds biology to the drop down list. And then going forward, I would select biology from the drop down list. So again, and this is very important, always select the subject matter. If it's not there, you would type it in and click add to list. So now let's enter the word or term. I'm going to add absorption, and then I'll enter the meaning. So now let's add another word or term, and I'm going to add another word or term for biology again for first form. And if I click the drop down list, I see biology is there, so I'll click biology, and then this new word is called accommodation. Okay, so see, you could always browse through, and here we have a printer icon. So what this one does is that it's going to print a booklet for you with all of your words or terms. So whenever you want to print a booklet, and it's going to be for a specific grade. So let's click on it, and we're going to tell it we want the database to print a report of all of our words alongside their meanings, or all of our terms alongside their meanings for first form, and click launch. So here what it does is that it has first form and then it has biology. It's going to list all of the terms for biology. It does it in alphabetical order. If you click next, you will see that it does the same for Business 101 and it lists all the terms. So what this report does is that for any specific grade, it's gonna group it by subject matter on its individual page, and then in alphabetical order, it's gonna list the terms and the definitions. And so we have biology, and the next one is Business 101. And if there were more classes with terms for that specific year, the report would continue. So again, this is a way that you would study. So for first form, here I have a report that shows all of my classes, all of the terms and definitions. All I have to do is print this report or export it to PDF, and here I have a one-stop document that I could study from. So that's the word bank. Now the word bank is related to the quiz or study module. And what the quiz and study module does is that it pulls from the word bank to allow you to quiz yourself. So for this module, the fields that are mandatory are the subject fields and the number of questions. Over here, it lets you know how many questions are available. So as you add words to the word bank, this number is going to grow. Although this system has in like 44 or 50 words, it lets you know there are only 11 questions, because obviously, you would need about anywhere between 2 to 4 of those options to form the multiple choice section for the quiz. So it says, okay, 11 questions are available. To the bottom, it will give you an idea of whether or not you're improving by showing a line chart with your 10 most recent test scores. So for this example, I want to be tested on Business 101, and it says for Business 101, so although there are 11 questions available for this specific subject, there's only 3 questions available. I could enter how many of the 3 questions I want to be asked. No, I didn't make a selection for grade or year, so what's going to happen is that if I had Business 101 in any of the class, it's going to pull questions from those classes also. So usually you would just leave this blank, because more than likely you would only have a subject in one grade or year anyway. A few subjects you may have them over the course of several years, but All that's really needed is the subject and the number of questions, and then you click launch. So it asks you the question and you would just click the answer. You click the plus sign for the answer. Right away, the first one I got wrong, it showed an X. And up here, it lets you know your progress. So right away, I know that I only got one question right for 33%. But once you finish with the quiz, you're going to get a launch report question. It's going to say test completed. It's going to let you know how many you answered correctly and your percentage. And it's going to ask you if you want to view a report for the incorrect answers. So here I'm going to click yes. And what it does is that it shows your report with the answers you got incorrectly alongside the correct answer. So here you'll be able to print or export it, and then you could focus on those areas that you still need to tune up on by learning what you got wrong. The final module is the college prep module. And so what this does, it helps with saving for college, but not only that, it also helps with setting up action plans, your action plan for your college. So I've already included an example here where I logged my savings for the month of July. By default, it sets your target, your monthly target, to $30, but of course, you could change it to whatever your monthly target is. Here, it will let you know how much you've saved so far for the month, and it will let you know how much more you would have to save to reach your monthly target. So let's do an example. So I want to log for the month of August 2016. I would go to add new. I would select the month, in this example, August. I would set my target. I don't want it to be 30 for August. I want to, push myself some more. So I'll say 45. And what you would do is that you would select or enter the date. So for August, on the 2nd, I saved $20. On the 12th, I saved $22. On the 18th, I deducted. Whenever you're inputting a deduction, make sure you include the negative sign first. I deducted $9. It's going to show it in red. And on the 25th of August, I saved $14. And so it lets me know that for this month so far I've saved $47, and I did great. I exceeded my expectations by $2. The summary savings, what it does is that here it lets you know how much you save for all of the months. And the chart shows you graphically your savings for the past 4 months so that you could compare how much your goal was, which is in blue, to how much you actually saved. Whereas the graphical area only shows it for the past 4 months. Well, there's only 2 months in the system right now, so it shows 2 months. But here the graph shows the past 4 months. The total save though shows all the months, not just the past 4 months. So let's go to the action plan, and I have some examples here. What this really is a to-do list, and you will notice that it's also represented on the home page. So you could add tasks from your home page without having to come in here, or you could come in here, whichever is your preference. So let's add an example here. I want to on the 24th of September, I need to submit my college application to the University of Howardsworth. And let me put a note that this is their email address. Now, when you've completed the task, you just click the check mark, and what you will notice is that it adds it to this section as a task that's completed, and it removes it from this section. Again, on the home page, you could hear it shows that this was completed. Once you exit the database and come back in, it will remove it altogether. But for now, it just lets you know that was completed. Say I wanted to say that this was completed, I would check it here. So now this is the database in its entirety, but I just want to close it out so that you could see what the login screen looks like. And note that when we come back in, these two will no longer show. So let's close out the database. So whenever you close the database and you open it again, you'll be greeted by a login form where you could log in. It takes you to the home page, and notice the two that were selected before are no longer there. Let's close the database again because I want to illustrate something if you forgot your password. So let's close it again and let's open it. And for this example, let's pretend that for whatever reason we forgot our password. You will click on your forgot your password and reset password. It's going to ask you for your auth code that was included in the email. So you would enter it and you would set your new password and you would click reset. It lets you know it was reset successfully and it comes to the home page. So now to wrap up, I just want to discuss some helpful tips, which is also included in your manual on page 32, starting from page 32. So here, whenever you see the plus sign, is to add a new page, a new record. Whenever you see the printer icon, is to show a printer friendly version of the booklet, except for the word bank. The word bank, it not only shows a printer friendly version for the current page, but for all of the words. Whenever you see the binoculars, it's to search. You will click on it. It's to search the current sheet you're on. So even if that sheet has multiple sub modules or sub pages, it will search those also. So you would click on that. You would make sure it's set to match any part of the field, and you would type in your keyword and it's going to perform a search for all of the records in that specific section. Of course, the X means to delete, and these are the navigation, whether you want to browse, view the record before or view the record after. This is the information icon. You could hover over it and it'll give you some helpful tips. Whenever you see these red scroll icons, it means it's letting you know there's something to the bottom. The view notes for grade is in the My Classes section. When clicked, you get to select a grade and it's going to show you all of the notes for that grade. This is the forgot your password, reset password is on the login page. You would click it and you would follow through with resetting. Here is just letting you know that the tab button is very helpful to go from field to field. Instead of clicking with your mouse, you press the tab button and it's going to jump from field to field. If you want to jump backwards, you would click, hold down shift and press tab. The escape field is also very important. If for any reason an error comes up or something on screen that you can't get rid of, just keep pressing escape. It will take that out. Or in the case that you started to fill out a sheet, but you haven't filled in all of the required fields, but you want to come out of that sheet, you would press escape twice or 3 times and it's going to clear the sheet. And of course, the final tip is to let you know that for the booklets and reports, you could print them and you could export them. And this completes the training on the Student Companion 1. If at any time you need extra assistance, feel free to email me and my email address is listed on the very first sheet, on the title sheet. I am SheryleenDyer@gmail.com and I'll be happy to help. Thank you.